Hello everyone, it's been another week, another Saturday Persona 3 stream, so let's talk about my thoughts on what I played. The first thing I gotta say is that if I wasn't committed to playing this game from start to finish, I would have already quit. Persona 3, 4, and 5, and their various re-releases, all have deadlines. They have days in the calendar that trigger events. In 4 and 5, you know the deadlines in advance, as they are the time limit for your current dilemma. If you succeed, you then have the freedom to just mess around and work on other systems and mechanics and progressions without the pressure of having to finish the current dungeon or palace, as they're called in Persona 5. Persona 3 doesn't have that. When you kick off the game and can start going to Tartarus to climb its many floors, you don't really know why you're doing it. You're given some kind of vague notion that maybe climbing all the floors and defeating the shadows will end the dark hour and make it so it never happens again. But other than that, the dates on the calendar mean very little. So when 5 to 10 minutes into the stream I reached the maximum allowed floor on Tartarus, you can imagine my confusion. It's nothing new, of course. Mementos in 5 also has blocks that prevent progress, and these are gated by story progress. But I had no indication of what the story element actually was in Persona 3. I did the usual social links, and we'll get to those, and social stats. But as the days went by in game, I just felt my interest in continuing the playthrough just slowly dwindle. I didn't have anything to look forward to, nothing to grab my interest, in the least. Fortunately, the creepy little boy showed up and said, "Hey, in a week, something's gonna go down," on the night of the full moon. And though I should have been relieved, my first thought was, a week? Why a week? I've been bored out of my mind for a week already, and you want me to do another? I even did a second clear of Tartarus up to the top 4 I could access, to make some money, and honestly to have something to do on stream. As for the full moon night, it's mildly interesting, but doesn't in any way make up for the insufferably long wait. It's a unique shadow that takes over a train, and so you have to head in and defeat it, while contending with Junpei having his head firmly up his rear. He's jealous that the main character is the appointed leader and refuses to listen to reason and runs ahead to solve it all on his own, leaving you and the other party member to get ambushed. I wish this game would give me the option of removing Junpei from the game altogether. In any case, you catch up, he's acting like a brat, but you save him, and then engage this new boss that looks like a woman in a very comfortable, if not compromising position, with what looks like scrolls for hairs, and she has the letters B and J across her chest. And I looked it up. This boss represents the High Priestess in Tarot, and so B and J refer to Boaz and Yakin, or Yakin, 2 pillars flanking the priestess. But I'll be honest, my first thought was the meaning we most commonly think of when we see BJ. As a boss, not much to write home about. She deals moderate damage, some of it AoE, summons minions, which I hate, and her only unique mechanic is that you have a time limit before the train you're on crashes, and she can use an ability to speed up the deadline. It's an easy fight, yet another thing that did not meet my expectations, given the long wait for their appearance. Okay, now it's gonna go down, what, 5 minutes? Yeah, I figured it would be the case. Another Aki, come on. Done and dusted. As for why I hate minion summoning, or summoning ads as I would say in an MMO, I find that to be a good example of bad boss design. A boss should be a spectacle. It should be the star of the show, of its encounter. And unless the core gameplay requires you engage with smaller enemies to work well, like say Doom Eternal, where you depend on normal enemies to drop ammo and other resources, then the boss should not bring any other creature into the fight. Doing so is just artificial difficulty, and most of the time just delays the inevitable. But well, you end the boss, Junpei apologizes, but doesn't give any explanation to his behavior, and then you just go back home to keep exploring more levels of Tartarus as new floors have opened, and, I suppose, wait for the next full moon. I left the session up to there, right after the boss fight and the end of that little scenario. My problem with it is, it's too passive. Persona 3 becomes a game of I'll just waste my time until something interesting happens and see how long I can remain patient. But as I mentioned last time, it is apparent how much Atlus learned from this game to enhance future entries, which is why Persona 4 and 5 give you those objectives from the start. Not just plot hooks, but the clear mission of you have to clear this dungeon before the deadline. It gives a sense of urgency, and once you're done with it, you have something to look forward to, the resolution of that situation. You've done your part, now we see where the pieces fall. And you'd think that knowing that the full moon is the trigger, that this will be the moment Persona 3 changes for me, and it's not. Because it's still a waiting game, you're still being passive and just counting the days to the next story section. But it's not just in story pacing, where I could clearly see the influence Persona 3 had on the rest of the series, and that is the social links. If you've played Persona 5 first, then coming to Persona 3 Reload is a bit of a letdown in terms of the links. Persona 5 players are used to seeing new abilities, bonuses, and other benefits unlocking with every level or every few levels of a social link. Stuff like, this character will jump in front of an attack meant for you, while Whitney Houston's Will Always Love You plays in the background. In Persona 3 though, the only thing you get is the bonus XP when fusing personas. That then of course led to Persona 4, where the social links for party members give abilities, but the NPCs still lack anything interesting, which would get corrected in Persona 5. During this session, I fully fixed my dwindling personal economy, with that second run through all the floors of Tartarus and using the shuffles for money as much as I could. Went from having nothing to sitting comfortably around 20k yen, which isn't all that much, but it's better than what I had before. Oh, speaking of social links, they've actually picked up. My bland man Tomochika has become interesting. He's got the drip, he's got the fashion advice, the music tastes. He's all about that food and enjoying tasty treats. And then he gets really weird about his romantic endeavors. He's into a teacher and is delusional enough to think that he can turn that into a relationship. Then again, Persona 5 did have teacher dating, consensual and otherwise, so in this universe I think Tomochika may actually have a shot. The other social link of note was the track team, which surprised me on two fronts. The first is that the manager is a separate social link altogether, and the second is they tackle a topic that can get pretty dark, which is young people, especially in Japan, pushing themselves to the breaking point because of expectations. The member of the track team that you hang out with, whose name eludes me right now, clearly suffers an injury, a debilitating one on his knee. But because of those pressures and expectations, he refuses to take time off. It's still early days with the team manager, so I don't have much to talk about that one, but I did get volunteered into the student council, and the dude in there, to me, just looks like a bad guy. Just has something in his face that screams major villain. So far, nothing. He's been a straight shooter, but the heel turn is coming. I just know it. So if I have to summarize my current feelings on Persona 3 after this second play session, I can break it into a couple of points. First, regarding the main plot, still not hooked. I'm mostly just doing anything I can to kill time until the next major story beat, the next full moon or whatever else comes, but don't feel all too engaged with the story or the characters. The members of SEES haven't clicked with me yet. Junpei still deserves assassination though. Second, I'm starting to enjoy the social link stories a bit more. The characters are showing personalities, interests, and I have some fun with them. They're more or less the highlight of the playtime for me right now. I'm fully committed on seeing this story through, so join me Saturday for the next leg of this journey, and hopefully something interesting happens.